Good evening, Joanne. My name is Henri Giroux. I'm with the North Bay and District Labour Council, and tonight we're also with Lindsay, and Jared will join us after. So we're here today just to, have your opinions on some of the subject that Labour Council is interested in, and hopefully that you can answer some of our questions. So if you want to start with 1 minute, if you want to give us some stuff about you, and then we'll start with the questions after. Go ahead.
I'm from a large family, raised and also living right now in the central area of the city. I've always been since the age of 14, I've been a community volunteer. So I've been over 50 years of community volunteerism. 4 years ago, I decided to put my hat for council, and I was successful at that. I can tell you that I didn't think I was going to love it this much. I got the bug, and one of the things that I'm proud of is that I read every report that was given to me before I voted. I also would go back to staff and sometimes read reports from 2 years ago. Like, I wanted to know a history of that issue, so I was well educated before I voted for it. With my position, I came in second, so 272 votes behind Tanya, and that allowed me to pick. I chose to be chair of community service. So as well as doing that, I also sat on 18 other committees and boards. So it was probably like a 20-hour-a-week part-time job for me. Okay, and I did enjoy it, and I can say that I'd never missed a meeting, and that also if I had to miss a meeting, let's say from Nipissing University Board of Directors, or it was because there was a council meeting had been called, a special council meeting. So I never missed. I was dedicated, I was committed, and that's what I did for 4 years. Okay. I find that I will bring to the table a different view, a different perspective. I want more community engagement. I want to involve the citizens, if they choose to come to the table, at the beginning of a discussion or a plan. The first one, in my mind, is going to be the climate change action plan. So I want to hear, I know of experts in town, associations, I have talked to them already, but at a table, I want their input. I also want to have citizens' inputs that are interested in the subject. You're going to be heard. I'm not saying we're going to pick your solution, but you're going to be heard, and it's going to get filtered down, and then we'll come back with a plan for the community. That's how I plan to operate.
So that's good, Joanne. Yes, I remember 4 years ago when you ran, and you did almost come first for first time running for a candidate. So
yeah.
Congratulations on that part. So, and we'll start with our questions. So one of our questions that we have, I know you weren't in power when this happened, but in January 2017 is when the city decided to look at the procedural bylaws and do some change in the procedural bylaws.
Yeah.
So under the current bylaws right now,
yes,
there's a provision, and it's 36.3, the general provision, and the letter is E, that the Labour Council is concerned about. And it reads as follows. So I'll just read to you so that you're aware of it, because it's hard to know everything that's going on. But no person will be permitted to address the council with respect to a labour management dispute or issues, unless it's provided by the legislation of the collective agreement. So, unfortunately, this amendment over the years has expanded to prohibit every working class person in North Bay from presenting any labor issues to the council.
Okay.
And also, they have, when they created this bylaws, they also took away the 5-minute presentation that we had. And I know personally a lot of people have benefit from speaking for 5 minutes, and also have made people, the community, aware of stuff that's happening that a lot of people didn't know until you go and do the presentation. Now it's the issue now is that there's only 3 people allowed to speak, and they have a 10 minutes. And one of the areas where they're prohibited is that they have to put in writing what they're going to speak about. And a lot of people can go and speak about something, but have a hard time writing what they're going to speak about. So we ask all the candidates, if elected, would you look at this provision again and see how you can change it to make it better for labor issues that we want to talk about, and also to make it better for the public to come and speak on their issues with a 5-minute limit they had before?
I do know it was actually 2019 when the 5-minute left the procedural bylaw, and that was from actually a retired city solicitor from Sudbury, Fred Dean, and that's what he's been doing all across Ontario. He consults with our bylaws because he's an expert at that. The one thing with the 5-minute is they wanted more structure, and you can talk for 5 minutes in the 10-minute. You just need to register. And yes, you need to fill out a form, but I wasn't aware that you had to put everything in writing. Some people will send us their presentation notes beforehand so that we know what they're talking about. So if we have questions, we can ask after. And they can speak. They have a maximum of 10. But then if a councillor asks them a question, then they can take another 10 or 15 or 20 minutes to talk if they want to. There's nothing that stops them. For the 5-minute, because it was unstructured, you could just stand up and ask anything. It was less controlled, and we would have, I think they were just trying to have good, thoughtful discussions, because some of the people that stood up was just, it was out of our mandate, but we had to listen to them. Now, for your labor, like what kind of, would you go up and talk about union stuff with city workers, or just in general in the city?
Well, in general in the city. So an example is when we had the discussion about Castle Home.
Yes.
We weren't sure if they're going to privatize it or not.
Right.
So we wanted to do a presentation to the city. And because they say it's a labor issue, then we weren't allowed.
Okay. So could you have worked it around a different angle?
Well, I mean, the question is that if elected, would you look at that and maybe have some changes to the way it is right now?
I would look at that. I think the more the concern about that was that if we would have had you present, and as you know, council is not involved in the contract negotiations of the city employees, and that we basically just get we have a budget, and then they come back to us to say this is what they want, this is what we think it's reasonable, and then they come back and say we've agreed. They inform us and we say yes, and then labor signs. So that's the only involvement we have, and we have to stay in that room. But no, I'd be willing to look at other ways of rewording it, or that.
So when it comes to labor negotiation, it's one area.
Yeah.
But when they say the issues, so other issues that has to do with labor, which is not negotiation, it has to do with labors. So, for an example, another example, the post office, when they actually wanted to do a presentation on the banks, the post office bank, they couldn't do it because it was related to labor again. So if you think about any labor issue that doesn't have to do with negotiations, then we're screwed with the fact that we can't. That we can't present anything that has to do with labor. So it's the word issues. I think is the problem.
So you and when you're saying Castle Home, you do realize that we pay for Castle Home, but we have no say. I'm sure you know that. Yeah. But So you're basically looking at to be more of as a way to public platform that like more people could be educated on what you want.
On different issues, that's labor issues.
And I'm sure through other questions, we'll see that there's a breadth of labor issues.
Okay, So to reword and to look at and add or redefine what issues are, I'm open for that.
Okay. So let's go with Lindsay.
As an example of an issue close to labor's heart, what actions, immediate or medium to long term, would you take or support to help provide or to help with the current housing crisis and homelessness issue in North Bay?
Actually, mental health, addiction, and homelessness is my first pillar in my platform. And how I came about to that is that I held focus groups, and I had 10 issues on a whiteboard or on a flip chart, and everybody had 5 stickers, and they could only put 5 areas. I did 3 focus groups. We did a lot of one-on-ones for the people who couldn't come. All their top 3 were the same priorities. So that became my platform, which is the first one is mental health and addiction and homelessness. So we need to. I recognize that the health issues are provincially funded in Northern Ontario, but I also realize I live in this city, and they're in my face, all our faces, right? And they affect retail, they affect everyone, even our mental health, because we can't do things that we like to do. So I am going to advocate, and I'm going to move forward with help move forward with the community and safety and wellness plan, well-being plan. But having to say that, I also have been in communication, maybe a little, with a medical professional in addiction, and I'm trying to convince her. She's from Manitoba, she's moved to Ontario, and now she's starting to do some good work, different strategy, hopefully for her to share her strategies and her best practices with agencies in North Bay to collaborate. So that is a different approach. I do realize that we have right now to help with the homeless issues, and that we have Wing, which is going to open up pretty soon with 30 beds. Those are men's beds, Indigenous. And then we have the Northern Pines, which now only operates 15 beds, but eventually, when they're fully funded, will be over 60 beds. And then with the Canadore 53-bed addiction center. So hopefully that will assist. We do have the community wellbeing plan. I can tell you that Timmins is about 6 months ahead of us when they hired a community wellbeing coordinator. And they're starting to see collaboration and partnership between agencies now. So hopefully we're only 5 months away, and we can start to see some results. Though keep in mind, and I mean, you guys know, progress takes a long time. So when this guy was hired, Brent was hired, he just said, you'll see the results, but give me 3 years. Okay? So, and one of the thinking about that too is, I've asked some executives from social agencies, and as we rebuild or revitalize downtown with new road, new sidewalks, new lights, we need to also work on our social infrastructure so that it's timed. So when everything is done, we have help for the people who want it, and more accessible beds. And I realize we also need to attract more specialists, more consultants, and not psychiatrists, but to help, and more social workers, because we lack this a lot of services here in North Bay, and this grant is starting to identify gaps in the system. I did look at the Medicine Hat, and when you look at all the programs and all that they have, and we don't have that one, or I don't know, we don't have that one, and for them it seems like it comes all from under one umbrella, and I don't know if we have, after you're sober, do we have another agency that takes them over and wrap around service and a housing, and let's get you into the workforce, and they help them to stay sober for the next 2 years. The transition after the graduation, you want them to continue. So I'm going to be involved in it. as in, I'm not going to tell you how to do it, but I'm going to try to bring partnerships and collaboration from all those experts at the table.
That's
Okay?
good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so we know there's a lot of development in the city is important for the economic driver and for the city, and provide jobs for people and pays tax for the city. Some question of openness and transparency of City Hall with regard involving the public in consultation in affect neighborhood where development may take place.
Yeah.
What is your view on making the development process more transparent and open, especially those neighborhoods where development is being proposed?
Okay. One of the things with that, I'm glad because I'm the chair of the planning committee. Whenever you have an apartment or development going up, everyone around, I believe 400 feet, 400 meters around, you get a registered letter, and it's also posted. So if the land will be rezoned to something else. If the land is already there as residential and that's what they're putting up, there will be no consultation. But what happens after that is they come to the planning committee and they present in front of the council. Council gets to ask questions, but then anybody in the audience, you don't have to register. You can come to the mic and you can say your piece, and no time limit at all. So if you have concerns, and we've had a few developments that have stalled or hold back because people had valid concerns. So then we send it back to the staff to say you need to look at these, and then come back and report a second report to tell us you've discussed with the developer and this is going to happen, and we've addressed all the issues. So there is transparency there. Maybe we don't publicize it as much. Maybe we should do a better job letting people know in 2 weeks from now, this is coming to council. If you have something to say, come and do it. And I've seen a lot. That's the process, but I believe we need to do better communication. That's one of our issues, is communication. Or change it somehow because it's there, but not too many people actually see it. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Is that good? Did I answer everything, Ruby?
Yeah.
Okay.
Lindsay?
Thank you. Okay. What is your position on privatization and the contracting out of public services? This includes public-private partnerships.
Okay. I do know we did the reverse with the landfill, and that was it was for me. It was strictly a business case that the contractor would do this, and the city could do it differently and have less environmental issues. And so I went for it because of the business case of being accountable for the employees could be accountable for what they did, whereas it's harder for the contractor to be accountable for that. So I was all for that. P3 partnerships. So far, what I've been exposed to, not comfortable. I wanted to be at 100% the interest of the taxpayer. I was approached at the beginning with a partnership for our new arena, and when I asked, "Oh, okay, yeah, let's do this together. You pay half, we pay half. This is for North Bay. This is for you." "Oh, no. We'll use it all, and then if there's time left over, North Bay can use it." So I walked away from that table. So it needs to be to the advantage. The other type, again, for the arena of partnership was more, we will bill the box, the envelope. Now you guys pay for everything that's inside, and then we'll charge you so much a year, and after 25 years, you get to buy it. But after 25 years is when things break down. So why not? There's a philosophy of always pay now or pay more later. And I'm for the pay now. In the long run, looking at the big picture and what's to the advantage of the taxpayer. That I'm a firm believer. Okay, and yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay, so in the same line, I guess, a little bit closer. How would you make local government, so the municipal
Yeah.
here, I guess, more inclusive, open, and responsive.
Inclusive, I'm glad to report, where did I put that? I don't know if you remember our first town hall meeting. It was COVID. We did a Zoom. Our first town hall was, I'm going to find my, two ladies presented and said how North Bay was racist. And from their perspective, it was. And you had to look at it from their point of view. And I did not. And one of the things that one of the ladies recommended was a book. And I read that book, and it said, "No, I'm not racist." But what that book has taught me is I don't think I'm not racist, but I don't call it out when I see it. Mm. So now I call it out. Mm. And then the other one they recommended, and I did bring this forward, and the city is a member, the Coalition of Inclusive Municipalities, and it's on behalf of UNESCO, and it works to promote social inclusion, to establish policies to eradicate all forms of racism and discrimination, and to promote human rights and diversity. So that we belong to. If you ask me how have we advanced, I can't tell you. But I did ask that question. So as mayor, I'm going to make sure that the toolkit that this association has, that we develop it and we implement it in North Bay, because that is very important. It was something I think a lot of us experienced in our youth, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So and I'm a believer that I always want to make life easier for the next ones that follow me. You always want to improve. You always want to make things better. So okay. Is that good or?
Yeah.
And you touched on this, but maybe another opportunity to bring in some more ideas. What initiatives and policies would you advocate for to address climate change?
Oh, yeah.
There, I love that reaction.
Oh, okay. And remember, these are my ideas. But I'm only going to be one person at that table at the beginning, okay? I want to, if I can find it. Yeah, here it is. Of course, we need to realize that a climate plan, we need partnership from both levels of government for funding, because we can't do this alone. Mm-hmm. And pretty soon, we're going to have to pay a carbon tax. But there will be funding to say, let's change all the windows in City Hall because they're not efficient, we're losing too much heat. So we will need assistance from levels of government or wait for those fundings. But we definitely need to make our city more climate resilient. First of all, from the stormwater management. Make sure that you're lower than me. Mine goes down the river, down to you, mm-hmm. but that you don't get flooded. Mm-hmm. And that all our sewers and storm sewers are always maintenance program, that there's no litter, no nothing, stopping that flow of water. I also want to, we definitely need, I think the easiest one is more trees, because trees filter and keep us cool, because they'll become like an umbrella and try to keep the temperature cooler. We also, passive housing. We need to start thinking of passive housing, which is basically the house that's built that does not let out energy, and we used to call them, in the 80s, my sister, heat exchange. Mm-hmm. So when the hot air leaves, the cold air comes in and gets warmed up. Mm-hmm. So we need to work on that. I see there's a developer that is advertising this is a passive house, mm-hmm. if you want to buy it. I do know that the condos that are going to go at the beginning of Memorial Drive, and it says we don't build them like they used to, mm-hmm. because it's all going to be passive. Mm-hmm. Really a lot of technology into that. And I want to, again, continue on the active transportation plan, or speed it up, more cycling lanes. But also, I want to look into having lockers to store your bicycles in strategic places in downtown. I would go downtown with my bike, but I'm not going to lock it and leave it there. I want to put it in an enclosed locker where and I know that it's going to be secure and it's not going to get stolen. And also start to encourage, when I was in Ottawa at a conference, And I was at the Lord Elgin, and it's just part of their culture now. They come in, they bike to work, they come in, and everybody has a room where you put your bike inside the building, and you pack sack, and you put your work clothes on, and you go to work. So we need to start encouraging employers to do that, and I think the city should be one of the first ones to do it. Mm-hmm. We all have somewhere that we can have either a glassed-in area in our lobbies to allow your workers to store their bikes and not have to worry if they're going to get damaged during the day because they're outside. So, and then I do know I met with Peggy Craig Wald, and I have a few other people that have given me ideas, but I definitely want those people at the table too when we start talking about this. We also have people up at Canada or not Canada University that I know, a few professors that could jump in on that too and have ideas. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So, Joanne, you have a couple more minutes. Is there anything else that maybe you wanted to sort of let us know as you're, going campaigning? And
yeah. One of my strengths that people don't realize is that I have 23 years experience on boards prior to coming to City Hall. Mm-hmm. I also have a 22-year experience as a store owner. I lost my job and I created employment for myself and others. During 17 years of that, I sold sewing machines. I was always top 12 in Canada for those 17 years. But in 2001, rated per population, I was number 1 in the world. I learned, I went to conferences, I learned to become a better business person. I learned to become a better to know my marketing and my budgets and to the T of every week how much units I was going to sell and what units I would sell. So I have always been a lifelong learner, and that's what I did at City Hall. And what I've done, I've worked hard, but I was successful at. Mm-hmm. So that is my strength to bring to the mayor's office.
Okay. Do you have anything else you want to?
No, thank you very much for your time
and
your
no problem.
Thoughtful answers.
Thank you for having me.